It was a community basking with economic activities, a mining town with many of its inhabitants as peasants. Appiatse, near Bogoso in the western region, which was known widely for production of foodstuffs, specifically garden eggs and pepper, would witness what has become known as a national tragedy. On Thursday, January 20, 2022, men and women here were at their regular activities. Children were in school until the unexpected happened.
Hey, I'm Durumoko.
An incident which will change the lives of the over 1,000 residents in this settler community forever. Within minutes, a truck carrying explosives to a mining site crashed and went up in flames. There have already been contradicting accounts from the police, eyewitnesses, and rider of a tricycle thought to have crossed the path of the truck, which led to the explosion that flattened an entire community. Burning flames ripped through more than 400 homes and settlements, turning countless memories into ashes. Residents watched in shock as the whole town was destroyed and reduced to rubble. A heartbreaking video filmed by one of the curious residents and onlookers at the scene of the accident captures the final moments before the loud explosion, which killed 17 people.
Hi, I'm Durumoko.
One of the deceased was 21-year-old son of Amaduma. The mother of three recounts how a son was caught up in the blast.
Me babu ebi, I find justice. Me dadem one oba from Samaye Solio na Samesini. Nti me sole ya no. No dundu me banana dundu meters nyina. Na me kwafa mma me abele wo bi so hyedem wona me kwafa no e de fa bush. Nti me nim sa me ba no so adwane. Na sa me ba no kogina. Tank no wo video nti me ba boy 21 years we wu.
The trauma of seeing mutilated bodies scattered on the ground minutes after the explosion still haunts Sophia Mensa.
Gatenu munyina nipa nkoa. Me blama mienu ena me nana baako. Ena me sister baako papa so da bugu no so ahase.
Residents who were lucky to survive and those who narrowly escaped the blast will look on helplessly as their buildings were reduced to debris with nothing to salvage. Not a single house within the catchment area was spared. So this is the only portion of the community where the disaster did not affect much. But even with that, you can see that all the buildings had fair share of the disaster because the roofings have been destroyed, and this place is about 900 meters from the scene of accident. So you can imagine the severity of the disaster. Firefighters and personnel from the security agencies raced against time to rescue survivors and bring the situation under control. From the police to the ambulance service, the National Disaster Management Organization, and the military, the devastation was massive. Residents lost everything. That night, hospitals in Bogoso, Prestia, Ifiankwanta, Takwa, and other facilities were overwhelmed with casualties.
It was just a normal day on Thursday when we had an emergency call that we should prepare for casualties. So we put all it on our WhatsApp platform, asked all those doctors around to come and support. And lo and behold, a lot of people came, the nurses, the doctors, as the cases started trooping in. So it's been very hot. And the serious ones we had to take to the theater. And they had internal bleeding, blunt abdominal injuries, which needed serious surgeries, which I had to go in and work on them, whilst my colleagues also attended to the rest. So it's been very hectic.
Some of the victims who were in critical condition were transferred for advanced medical care. But all the narratives up until then cited a motorcycle rider as the cause of the accident. Philip Mensah, who was in the hospital receiving treatment, has refuted the claims.
And I can't go machine on the bomb in motor, and I'm in film motor, many lady in a film motor. Sliding from the sliding from now, boys. I say, Gloom or in a banner, or can say, Philip in a car, a bon, and normally to taxi normally and bahasi, normally and by within bay 30 minutes yet, yet is a BB a blasted.
Back at the disaster scene, the scale of devastation is massive. For many of these residents, they would wish it was all a bad dream. One of the most affected, 42-year-old Walder Yawose, lost 4 of his relatives. His mother, a brother, and 2 children, all of them gone and gone forever.
Whoa.
28-year-old Emmanuel Bwedi is another victim who is counting the cost of the disaster. Emmanuel lost his 1-year-old son. The mechanic says he was working at Takwa, 36 kilometers away from Appiatse, when the incident occurred. Days after the incident, he is yet to come to terms with what has hit him.
Fact, I did see the me want me feed because I na yet say temuda bi beba. Me who say in fact temuda nde say na aye. Because just one day then you wo krom yi na bubu. Nimpa emu ewu. De omo hu ye no mo ka. Na de omo atete de omo ban ade na blast ye ne de. Obi anim edom dodo.
Just like Osei, Ama, and Emmanuel, several other people are still traumatized by the event of January 20. They are yet to come to terms with the reality of losing their loved ones days after the incident. The economic cost of the incident is immeasurable. Several livelihoods have been destroyed.
So, Komewaha, Mamma so a Japan Uduma. Abasa no panu djuma na nkoso machine so asay mzundumi ye djuma nti aka yan pa ahadwen this is bia embabi bia na edo botom na use.
Education was affected.
Metwasa na ma fi school nti me selese mpefo babo am na makoso ya pa mo chapa. Sisa mi school, sisa ya danshi, ya dani ni ashi ni yekurum. Yenya metiwa mtimungo school ntiya. Rempa ifose omumbwa na enko school. Ama yetiwa sa ya fish school sa. Yeko machine ama yetimungo school. Ekwanu shemwa ya basa. Mina pese me bua ama for mo omunye mbua.
The incident drew immediate reactions from moral society, many taking to social media to offer commiseration to the victims and the over 1,000 affected community folks. A government delegation led by the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, would later in the next morning visit the disaster scene.
For the houses that have been destroyed, we are already beginning to think about how to rehabilitate and rebuild for the community here. So I want to assure Nananum that His Excellency the President has given us directives. I've already spoken to the State Housing Corporation, and with them and in consultation with the mining companies around here, we will quickly try to put in place facilities that will help those who have been displaced. So that is going to be one of priority for all of us. So just to assure you that government is fully engaged in all these processes, and we are going to see to it that the people here are taken care of. We will learn lessons, and those are going to be much later on. But for now, we are very, very concerned about how to complete this rescue effort, how to take care of the injured, how to take care of the families and people who have survived. And so we are going to work collaboratively to make sure all of that is happening. Right?
How soon are we going to see rebuilding here?
Well, it depends on the data. When we take the data up, the top management, and also for the geological people to look at how the grounds itself have been affected by the explosion. If they okay, that we can go ahead and clear and put houses on it, yes. But I believe that looking at the depth of this thing, the crater that have been left by the explosion, the ground may not. That is up to the expert to decide whether it's safe to put houses there. If it's not safe, we may have to identify a new place altogether for the houses to be built.
But in spite of promises to secure a temporary shelter for the displaced residents, ahead of plans to rebuild the community, victims were left stranded.
Waka from mattress in the Abba, but one time here, then I bet them near
You say, the penny for no pombe can't say Benya baby Pamo Adano. Yeah,
sir, the buyer and sir. Yes, I knew you know. And here, some other warm brand now, Bush and I washing here, no woman this woman. Now, one who 1 minute in the eye, for your better borrow, sir, adding.
Per what you are talking of, as at yesterday, the male victims were stranded. Yes, we have been able to get a very big conference room for them, which we have accommodated them over there. And also, Go First Ghana Limited has donated temporary tent for us, which one can take almost 7 people. We have mounted some. So what we are doing now, the ladies, we have pregnant women and those who are feeding the little ones. So we are going to separate the pregnant women and those who are feeding the kids from the victims, so that we can see how we will treat them. Then in the male side too, we will go and mount some of the structures there, so that we can also have those who are seriously injured, and how the doctors can attend to them, and hoping the long term too is in the pipeline. Our leaders and the government is talking about, so we know we have a proper plan for them. The community has helped a lot. Some people are ready to give us their uncompleted buildings, so that the assembly will do 1 or 2 touches, which we know by 3 days to 1 week time we will be able to get some of the houses, then start moving them into it. You know, in a situation like this, the people are very traumatized. So if you take them to some place and they feel comfortable, you have a problem. If they don't feel comfortable too, you have a problem. So we have to take very good care of this case.
The National Disaster Management Organization and the Municipal Assembly for Prestia Ahoni Valley would rather resettle the victims at the Dumasi camp, which is expected to be the new home for the nearly 1,000 residents, at least for 1 year, while government works to properly reconstruct their flattened community.
We know that we need to get more tents. That is the main reason why I wanted to bring them today, so that we will identify the problems and resolve it. You know, today is the first day, so you can see people are trying to find their way out and all of that. So I'm sure by tomorrow things will settle down, and then we'll be able to at least create more tents. I have had a discussion with the regional minister, and hopefully we'll get more tents. If we get about 40 more tents in addition to what we have, at least the problem will go down drastically. And we are requesting for 40 more because the COVID-19, and we want to actually consider that, or take into consideration in plans, so that we don't put a lot of them in one room. So now that they are here, I think here is more spacious. They can move about as compared to where they were. And you can see this evening we have a lot of food in excess. From tomorrow they will start cooking their own food and all that things, so that at least life can get back to normal. So I'm a bit relieved, because even though I've seen the problem, now before tomorrow I'll devise a solution to it and make sure that at least we resolve the challenges.
These victims, who until the explosion slept in the comfort of their homes, now have to manage in these tents until further notice.
Say TV, ubia hwene TV. Ya we fridge. Uku sala obeko echima ba bibia. By I had a sentence. Ti e fancy life na nye easy sa.
Ya ba moment today in a party dru ya de. Me dru am de mesu because me hwem baby na me wa ma be dru sa ati bia we mu dia. Mesu wo ba sini mu sa so ya den kura enyesi. Na omo nso omu koye no so e. Me da so yeti asefre ya me wa nwodini. Me ofi ada manko babia manko adwuma na so na me tifie me hwe me TV. Ono de ope obeye no wa de na se na ye bai unya TV hwe so so wo mu sa so bai. De omo aye no eye aban ayade omo ayade e bai ebri omo asevu yensuo na mo ni ade oh me de nipa yade osaye.
It makes you feel the reality of those refugees, and we hear of wars and rumors of wars, but it gives you real experience, and it also conscientizes you of the possibility that you can lose whatever that you've acquired in life. So it makes you feel like a stranger in your own environment.
Back at the disaster scene, though residents were warned not to return to the community until further notice, some of them couldn't resist the temptation of going to see what has become of where they once called home.
You keep searching, you keep working. The excavators and the rescue team are there. We are still searching, and we are picking intelligence of people who are supposed to live in the community, and we have not seen them now. So we are still working on that.
It's been days after the tragedy. Some of the most affected persons still have rough memories of the devastation. The young and old are being haunted by the dark images of January 20.
In fact, very weak me share under Papa Biada. Samedana esisimene so edomo na omo wo menche wo bia meye mobile money no ebinum efiri money ade no ama in fact ade we betumi efi ni petrim na ache ebeteki some months asa ebia na yani apadia esi no so because eyehu ankasa.
For this very issue, it will be very difficult for the dwellers over here to forget about it. There is no way you forget about it. You try to forget about it, but you cannot. And these little ones, they are highly traumatized. So for our people over here, it will be very difficult for them to forget about it. And it will take centuries. And still, they would still think about it. And we know in the Guinness Book of Records, it is going to be there. Ghana records. It's also there. So for us, how are we going to forget about it? It will be very difficult for us to forget about it.
But the Psychiatric Association of Ghana has stepped in to offer mental health care support.
We have interacted with most of the patients, the victims and their immediate families. We have been told that there are almost 900 people that have been affected, including children. What is even worrying is that there are about 10 children we identified that are without parents at this moment. They have given us several stories. Some children have gone mute. Some children are screaming at night. There are some adults that we interacted with that they told us they have started feeling suicidal. One woman said that she was the one that went to give the husband's phone to him to take video of the incident. And then when the blast occurred, the husband lost his life. And so she feels life is not worth living. These are the reasons why we came here, that we will offer some support to these people. Some are going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleep challenges, a lot of panic, and we came to offer some intervention. We have given them some medications. We have offered some of them psychological first aid.
There has since been a raft of support from civil society organizations, individuals, and other groups to ameliorate the suffering of the victims. Among them is the Ghana Chamber of Mines, who have pledged to support victims of the Appiatse explosion return a normal life.
As a mining industry, as a Chamber of Mines, we'll do whatever we can within, our means to support, to the extent that we'll even stretch ourselves to really support. The people of Appiatse is a mining community. They live within is a mining town. They are partners of the industry. We do the very best we can so that we can restore, working with other stakeholders, we can restore their livelihood so that within the shortest possible time, they will bounce back independent, not queuing for anything, not being woken up at specific times to be fed. Everybody appreciates independence, and it's our prayer that working together with other stakeholders, we can expedite action in getting the requisite approvals for the reconstruction to take place so that they can continue to live their normal lives.
Municipal Chief Executive for Prestea Oni Valley says the redevelopment of the ravaged Appiatse Township may take a year or more.
All that we are planning in because building a house is not a day's job. So I'm just making preparation for them. In my mind, I'm just making preparation that they could spend a year or more here. So anything that I'm doing, I'll factor those down into consideration. If you're able to finish early and they leave, fine.
The tragedy has raised questions about safety measures when explosives are being transported. President Akufo-Addo has intimated this should be the starting point for reforms.
There are lots of things that we're going to have to learn out of the incident, which will go to shape future regulations and measures that have to be taken. I think the whole area of the safety of mines is now, and of mining activities in Ghana, now has to be very much at the front burner of national discourse. And we are required to find new and more acceptable solutions to how to ensure that safety of our population, of our environment against it. These things happen. You have to learn from it. It's tragic. And I hope we're going to take the right lessons from it.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo has commissioned a probe into the matter while directing the suspension of operations of Maxam Company Limited, the company which was responsible for transporting the explosives to Chirano mines. Preliminary findings by officials of the Lands Ministry revealed Maxam subcontracted the transportation of the explosives to another company. Parliament has added its voice to calls for an independent probe into the circumstances that led to the explosion. But even before the investigations are concluded, the police has been speaking about the procedures for the transportation of the explosives.
Say that the transport
of the explosives procedurally were properly done, and that there was a police escort, and the police escort assisted the driver in making sure that they alerted members of the public. The policeman was part of those who came to the school to whisk the school children away. He was in the escort vehicle and he witnessed what happened. And even their escort vehicle was also used to evacuate the injured.
So, but for that, the casualty would have been higher?
Yes, had it not been that, even looking at the school building and looking at the number of school children in there, we could have registered something bad. But thank God, they really assisted and spread out information about the danger, and a lot of people managed to run away from the place that is now the crime scene.
Well, while we wait for the findings of the committee tasked to probe the matter, an Appiatse Explosion Fund has been launched to support efforts at rebuilding the community, with President Akufo-Addo making a personal donation of 100,000 cedis. The committee, chaired by Dr. Joyce Ayi, the former Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Mines, will manage the funds by raising money and supervising its disbursement. The fund is to enable the public and corporate entities and individuals contribute to support and reconstruct the community. While the Appiatse Support Fund Committee gets to work to raise funds for supporting the rebuilding process, there are several questions that remain unanswered, many of which the investigations are expected to uncover. Issues of regulatory breaches, individual or group culpability in the tragedy, or whether it was as a result of a lapse in procedures, will lie in the remit of the investigative committee. But while we wait, what next for the Appiatse community? Are there lessons to be learned from the deadly incident which has so far claimed 17 lives? Only time will tell. But for now, this community is a dead town, and until it's rebuilt, it will serve a dark reminder of the event of January 20, 2022. I've been to several disaster scenes, but the devastation here is the worst I've seen so far. The explosion and its accompanying effect will forever leave a scar in the minds of residents. The general expectation is that proper checks will be put in place so we never experience this kind of disaster anywhere in the country. For the assignment, Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3, Appiatse, Western Region.
This program is rated U. It contains no scene.